Man, thanks for coming and talking to me.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in the things you do, and one of the things that in my life that I would say lack is just good, solid conversation. And I think there's a lost art in just having conversation that doesn't have to have a winner, and it doesn't have to have
Yeah.
a reason, and it doesn't have to have a purpose even. It's saying it's okay just to have a conversation with someone that you respect and someone that, whether or not you have the same views on everything, that you go, yeah, I just, you know what, you can take something, even if what you take out of it is, I definitely don't agree with that person.
Yeah.
That can be it. But it also creates a different respect for open minds.
That's true. And to do it in person is, man,
Yeah.
I took that for granted until COVID.
Oh yeah,
And now
absolutely.
it's so great to have somebody in person to talk to. Now I know the difference.
Oh yeah, and you also see that when people who kind of crave that kind of conversation or crave that interaction, there's really not anything else fake that takes the place of that. And so
Yeah, you can't replace it.
no,
can you?
you can't. If you crave and your heart craves good conversation, buying something is not going to replace that, or doing something is not going to replace that. That is something inherently that is important to you, and it requires another person.
Yeah, it's a social thing, yeah, for sure. It's so interesting. There's a lot of ways to do it. But I like your way of doing it. I see you on social media more than real life still. We cross paths often, but not enough, in my opinion. But on social media, I see you a lot trying to start conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get some people that get it. And
Yeah.
then you also wade through a lot of people that aren't, their first inclination isn't open-minded conversation, you know. But you do it anyway. And I think there's a thing about you where you're like willing to engage people all the time.
And to be vulnerable. That's one of the biggest differences in my life. In the last 4 years, my life has changed exponentially. And finally, being vulnerable, and even on social media, say, I'm endorsing this, or this is how I feel. And you're not inflicting your will on somebody else.
Yeah.
You're saying, this is what I'm thinking about. And a lot of times, what I do in the mornings is I'll come up with a random word. And with that random word, I'll, in my own mind, think of a quote. I'll make a quote up. So almost all the quotes that I post are something I've kind of come out of my own head. But if I can come up with a quote on that word that kind of describes or kind of gives the feeling of how I feel about that word, then I feel like I understand that word better. And sometimes it takes 30 seconds, sometimes it takes hours. And then I can come up with something and I go, that encompasses. And that's a good thought exercise for me to be able to express how I'm feeling about something.
Yeah, your statements, your declarations, you call them quotes, but you're quoting yourself.
Yeah.
You're making these things up. When I read them, I'm like, man, this is full of wisdom. Like those aren't easy to come by, and I hope that a lot of people get it, because you can read things lots of ways.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. And what it does for me, it also helps me to if I read what somebody else says, then I go, I don't just immediately get defensive about it, whether I agree or disagree. I go, I wonder what this means to them, because the same thing can be something different to somebody else. And then if you think, I wonder what they were thinking or what they're going through when they had this thought,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it kind of opens your mind up a little bit. And the main thing is you give grace. You give grace to other people, because you may agree, you may disagree, but if they say it in a way that they've thought about it, I don't go for somebody that just wants to be the loudest voice in the room and they blast stuff, and because they haven't thought about it, they haven't thought things
Right.
through.
Yeah.
They're parroting someone else or parroting somebody else's thoughts. But if if I really don't agree with it, but I think, God, they thought about this and they're going through something different, man, I'm listening.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's it.
I'm trying to say, okay, I may not connect with them ever, but I'm going to learn something of their viewpoint through what they're saying.
Yeah, for sure. I get it. I don't respond to people's emotional reactions either.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not because I think they're jerks. We all do it.
Oh, sure.
We all emotionally respond. But like my practice of stoicism, it taught me specifically, I don't even respond to my own emotional reactions. I try not to do that either. So like when I read something, I'm like, okay, that's how I feel about it. But that wasn't a choice I made. That's just something that happened.
Sure.
So, okay, now I'm going to read it again and see what it really says. And when I see people speaking that aren't doing that process, they're showing me their reaction. I'm okay with it, but I don't engage either.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Every time the Dollar General store opens up, people lose their minds, and it triggers people, and they want to like post all this stuff about. And I go, so I don't even put my opinion. I just like get away from that because that's a reaction. That is an emotion about something to go.
Yeah,
they're even thinking this through, and so I just go. And so for me to even comment, even if I think I'm going to try to change the tone of this, I'm just participating, and then someone else is going to jump on. And I go, I don't want to encourage this. I don't want to. But if someone tries to say something that's positive or something that's, and then I will, even if I think I don't agree. But how can I engage in this in a way that I don't sacrifice my own beliefs, but that I also can celebrate their thinking.
Yeah. Why not? Why can't you do both? It's not impossible. I think it's so strange in our culture right now. Everybody believes it's like a left or right or this team or that team or one way or the other. Like there's so many times that things could just be all of those things.
Sure,
especially when you're dealing with another human,
until you kind of know where they're coming from or know where they're at, and then I go, man, I'm just going to give them grace, man. I'm gonna, and life is hard. Mm-hmm. Life is really hard, man, and so I just go, how can I, what can I, if I can't make this situation better, then I'm going to walk away from it. I'm not going to join in to the.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to. I want to share peace, not join the chaos.
Yeah, that's wise. That's how you avoid joining a mob.
And if you you can simplify your life a lot by simplifying your thoughts. And so that doesn't mean you got to be a Luddite and get rid of all your technology and live in a hut in the woods and make cheese. It just means you can simplify your life by simplifying your thoughts and simplifying by the things that you give energy to and the things that you give time to. And I was just at my insurance agent, and I have never met this person live and had him for years. And we were talking about whether I'm insured correctly or not insured correctly. And I said, I've had a rough few years. And through that rough few years, my insurance wasn't my main thought. I just paid it. And I thought, whether it was right or wrong, I thought I needed to focus on some life things and some emotional things and some mental things. And so whether or not it was a good business decision or not, that was irrelevant. I needed the health in my life to be more important. And now I've kind of feel like I've kind of got grips around that a little bit. And so now I could focus on some of the business things and some of the financial things. But I wasn't trying to do all that and be a mess or a train wreck.
Yeah, it's prioritizing. Yeah, I think I love that. It's so important. And especially when you're dealing with other people. Like, me and you were going to exchange ideas. Like, how I feel about your ideas is not really all that useful. Like, it's not going to help me understand you better.
Yeah, most people don't change their mind because they lost an argument.
No,
So,
no.
we don't sit here and talk about whatever the topic is, whether it be religion or politics or something else.
Yeah.
And finally, I've raised my voice enough, and finally, Dustin goes, "You know what? You're right. You're right. I agree."
Yep.
It never happens.
Yes, no, it doesn't ever happen.
It doesn't happen. And so what happens
But
is
there's a lot of that happening.
Oh, for sure. And it's because people get wore out and they give up. And they say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to agree with this person. And
I mean, there's a lot of people yelling their feelings at each other, but not, and it's really ineffective. On one level, I could say a lot about it, but I'll just say it's ineffective strategy.
I would agree, and it just doesn't. At the end, nothing has really changed. At the end of that, people
not
feel
not for the better.
No, that's what I mean. They just feel the way they feel, and so man, I just
now they know they don't like you because you fought over it.
Because there's people that that go nuts on some small little insignificant things and make a big deal about it, and then that changes how I think about them as a person, even. Only because I go they can't even handle this dumb thing right. They can't even, you know. And I go, I don't know that's. I'm not. The rest of their energy must be similar to that.
That's fair judgment.
You know, I was in years ago. I was in India, in a place called Repali, India. And I was working at a big orphanage, 2,500 kids in this orphanage, and we did a medical mission as well as some other things. And so they always tell me whenever I travel, they always say, hey, don't leave the group, don't leave the compound. And the first thing I'm doing is leaving the group, leaving the compound everywhere I go. And
that's cool.
So, I mean, I had a silk suit made and went down and just met people and stuff and eating off street vendors. But anyway, I was walking down this town and I was kind of lost, whatever. And I turned this corner, and there was a courtyard in this place in India. Now, India is, people say, what's India like? And I said, for one, it's the most colorful place I've ever been to in my life. The colors are amazing. The other thing is, it would be like living at the state fair. If you can imagine, going to the state fair on the busiest night on the midway and just live there. That is the chaos and the crowd and everything else. But anyway, so I turned this corner of this little town, and in this little courtyard, there were benches on four sides in a square, and there were a bunch of older gentlemen wearing white robes and white hair and white beards sitting in a square. And I said, oh, sorry, excuse me, I just kind of stepped out into it. And one of the gentlemen spoke English. They spoke Telugu in that area, but I didn't speak Telugu. And he said, sir, would you like to join our discussion? And I said, yeah, I'm cool with that. And two guys scooted down, and only one or two of the guys out of the 12 or so spoke English. And the guy said, we meet twice a week to just discuss life. And man, the discussion went a couple hours, and finally I realized that people were probably sending out the helicopters looking for me and stuff, and I had to excuse myself, and I thanked them so much. But the whole conversation, dude, they were just talking about life stuff, and they were talking about, and they disagreed, and the two guys that spoke English would kind of interpret, and I listened mostly. I did interject some things, and there was some back and forth, and it was all respectful. And you could tell people were passionate, and that people disagreed passionately, but it was so well done and so respectful. And in the end, they got up and they laughed, and they were old friends, and they went back to their different ways. And
That's great.
So for me, I've thought, man, that in life, how can I be a part of that, if not even physically, even in an online world or something where I can be that person that can conversate, that can listen, that can interject, but I don't have to agree. But in the end, it's okay.
Yeah, that's it, man. That respect.
It was what an experience.
That's so cool. That's a cool story, man. I'll bet they had like some pretty good wisdom too.
Oh yeah, and
India is so old, and they have such great wisdom. I'd love to go.
Yeah, India is wonderful, and it's just a great experience. But I just always remember that, thinking, man, what would that be like if you could just hang out with people that you respected and everybody respected each other, and in the end, we still hug and shake hands, and even if our viewpoint hasn't changed at all, we have we've shared that moment, we've shared that time, and that's
so important. I mean,
for sure.
The conversation among humans and just public discourse, even.
Well,
like,
I mean,
the ability to do it right is so important, and I feel like we're kind of losing that in the public.
Well,
but you're a great example.
Well, thanks, but I can tell you, Dustin, we've shortened everything. We've shortened everything, and it's not wrong, it's not right, but we've shortened everything.
Yeah.
I mean, originally Twitter,
Yeah.
and we look at the original, how many characters it originally was supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? Twitter was better then. And then all of a sudden they said, you know what? This is not enough. Let's expand that, And so they expanded that. And because everything has to be, and we've got down to where we text, we just put a K.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not worth an O in my life. You're not. You're sure not worth OKY, but you're worth it. And so even that idea where everything is just compressed in a different way to where we want to get our point across in the fewest possible characters.
Yeah, that's right. And that all affects listening quite a bit.
For sure.
Very, very few people are really interested in listening very much at all.
Yeah, because you can't tell tone. You can't tell tone from text or from emails, or you can't tell.
Right.
And even.
So you think it's like dulled people's inclination to listen deeply?
Yeah, I mean, do you know anybody that's a great storyteller?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Those are you talk about people that should be protected. People that when they tell a story in any instance, all of a sudden, I mean, everybody just stops. And it can be a funny story, it can be a serious story, it can be whatever it is, and they're just a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And I go, what happens is it's such a rare thing in our life now that somebody's like that, because everything else has gone to there's just a communication that is functional.
Yeah, highly efficient.
Yeah, so we're gonna make it so our communication is more functional and efficient. And if someone is just a great storyteller, and in the end the story was apropos to nothing, it just was a great story.
Yeah.
It didn't have to do with anything.
Yeah.
And in the end, you just go, dude, I didn't learn anything, or I didn't know anything. But what a wonderful story. And and so I think that, and when you meet people like that, and you realize that's lacking in your life, it just is. It's people who are just genuinely able to communicate in a way. My goal no longer in life, I don't think it ever was wealth or fame or things. I want to be interesting.
That's great.
I mean, when it boils down to that, I want to be interesting, and when someone is interesting, then it doesn't come. It comes from a life of adventure. People, even if they're interesting, even if they've never left Kokomo, their life is an adventure in some way, and whether it be mental adventure or physical adventure or something, but they're interesting because they know things and they can express things. But
you mean like interesting to yourself and other people, right?
Yeah, sure. So there's people that there are.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great. It's great because I just redid my life vision. I always have a vision, something specific I'm trying to do with my life. I learned this like early on, and then I'll do it. And I noticed mine changes over time a lot.
Sure.
And my most recent one was to live a deeply meaningful life and make a profound positive impact. So like deeply meaningful and interesting are like very close.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because let me tell you what interesting does. There's a lot of times, social media, for example, for me, if I am an interesting follow, if I'm an interesting follow on Facebook or Instagram, or I do TikTok a little bit, but not much. But if I'm an interesting follow, and people, it's just interesting to follow along with my life and things. Then when I have something that I think is important to say, they'll listen because I haven't been dull or loud or obnoxious, and they're not going to just thumb through it. They're going to say, generally Kevin's interesting. So that's my goal, because then if I want to make a difference with something, then they'll give me the grace for me to say that. It doesn't mean they're going to be changed, but
Sure.
if you're an interesting follow in life, whether it be social media or just in life, then when you do have something that you think this is important and this is something I want to stand on, people will give you a better audience.
Yeah, that's a great plan. That's a great idea. How do you become more interesting, do you think? Like, what is it you do to help yourself be more interesting?
Well, I think it has to do, the term well-read. I'm not classically educated, so I barely got out of high school, and but I consider myself well-read. And in this day and age, well-read also means podcast. It also means
Sure.
Audiobooks are well-read or well-listened to.
Yeah,
and I think
learning for sure.
learning
Yeah.
and having and experience. A lot of experiences in life, and it doesn't always come with age. I know some older people that are idiots, so it doesn't mean that you automatically get wise. You don't.
It's not automatic.
No,
is it?
I know some kids who are really wise, man, and just say some really wise things.
That's that adventure part.
It is, but the adventure of it. The other day I was just thinking about my life and where I'm at in my life, and I thought I like to live my life between the two trapezes.
Yeah.
You let go of one, and you're reaching for the other one. And there's a thrill, and there's a danger, and there's
faith.
There's a faith, and there's things you have to do on your own, but you also have to rely on gravity. You also have to rely on some physics, and so it's just
momentum.
It is. There's just that. I like
That's
word
so good.
pictures, but if I live my life between the two trapezes, then I can tell you, I hope that because of that I'm more interesting.
I think so. I think that's a great one too, because it sort of tells you something about yourself. What do you think at first? Oh my God, I'm going to fall. That's the type of person you are right now. Or this is exciting. That's the type of person you are right now.
And it also is letting go.
Surrender. Yeah.
So you're letting go of safety a lot of times, and that takes a faith, or that takes it also takes a willingness to fall. And if you don't, because and listen, people have lived safe lives their whole life, and people have, if someone were to tell me, I met my wife when I was 16 and she was 15, and we dated for 2 years and we got married, and I had a job in a factory, and we have 4 beautiful kids and 11 beautiful grandkids, and I lived in the same house 40 years, and I love my wife and I love my grandkids and I love my life. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
There's no inherent adventure in that, but that's a beautiful story. And so a beautiful story to one's life doesn't have to have lions and F-16s and snake bites. A beautiful story just has to be what your life is. And so even for an adventure, for me, that would be an adventure in someone's life, to live that life and to arrive at a place where they have been stable. That's an adventure. Stability's not easy. So even to have that, so
I think that is an adventure. It's a different kind.
It is, but
there's plenty of lions and snakes and pitfalls in trying to hold together a stable thing for 40 or 50 years.
There is, and so I just to be interesting. I mean, a life of adventure, and being well read, and being vulnerable, because you don't learn unless you're vulnerable.
That's right.
You don't. I mean, because if you don't say, I don't know what I'm doing here, or I don't know anything about that,
Yeah,
or
finding your
or this
ignorance.
is finding your ignorance, or saying this is how I feel about this. I feel, and then all of a sudden, when you're vulnerable, you can learn, and when you learn things, then that makes you more interesting. And so, I just think that it's just a way of saying, and then I think that part of being interesting is being able to communicate it.
Yes.
What if you had this unbelievably crazy story that was so cool and so wild and everything, but you couldn't communicate it? There's people like that. There's people that and
it's difficult. Communication is very difficult. I think we underrate the amount of work it takes to be a good communicator. You know, that you have to take a feeling and a weird mix of ideas that we don't even understand where they come from and make them into words that are articulate. And then to do it in such a way that another person can decode that and put it into their feelings and their complicated psychology, it's a major feat.
it is, because people can absolutely, you have to, if you're going to be a good communicator, you have to think, how is the other person or persons going to receive this?
Yeah.
And so you go, if I had this idea or this story, I have to do it in a way that we are on the same page. We're on the same wavelength on this. So you have to be able to articulate things and express things in a way that are going to be understood. And otherwise, what you've got is a monologue. And it is. So I know a lot of people that will give you a monologue, and a monologue is they don't want to be understood. They want to tell you how they feel, period.
Or it's almost sometimes like they just want to get it out.
Oh,
they don't even care if they're listening.
There's, and I have tried to be cognizant of that and empathetic of that, and go, you know what, this is for them. They need, especially if someone goes on a crazy rant and they're, whether it be a broken heart or something about their job. And I go, you know what, I'm just going to let them, this is just a dump right here. And so I'm going to let them just, I'm going to just let it dump. And I'm not going to try to fix anything. I'm not going to try to interject anything. I'm going to listen. I'm going to pay attention and give them this moment. And then, at least at some point, whether you say it verbally or in your head, you're thinking, "Are you done?" And when you feel they're done, and then you can see whether they. A lot of times when they're done, they'll exhale. Their shoulders might go a little bit limp, a little bit, and then you go, "Hey, watched the Colts game yesterday," and you can kind of direct it,
redirect,
because you've given them that moment,
sure.
and that's healing for some people. But let me tell you, people that do that all the time,
it's not a good mode of existence.
Well, let me tell you, anybody that does that all the time live, I don't make a point to be around them. On Facebook, there's a thing called Snooze 30 Days. And the Snooze 30 Days means I'm still with you, but I can't take you right now. And dude, I do
discover that.
Dude, you can say, I don't want to get rid of this person in my life. I just can't hear this for 30 days. I can't hear this discourse about whatever it is, who constantly just dump like that.
Yeah, and that happens to everybody.
There was somebody on Facebook that I grew up went to school with, and just always everything is just so negative, and it's just such a drag. And one time I put on, I commented, I said, I want to challenge you to once a day put a post about something good happened in your life. And his wife hearted that. And I thought, imagine what her life is like. She has to hear it. I only have to see it, and I can. And
his wife liked it. Yeah. I wonder if that sent a good message to him.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's all I know is that he did try it for a few days anyway, and then he went back to his old ways, and I snoozed him again. But the challenge was to say, yeah, okay, I know you feel that way, man. I know that and it was all this victim thing. And I go, but find something good, man. I don't care if you say, I had the best bowl of soup that I've had in a long time, or what a beautiful day this is, or something. And I said, that way you're posting something. And I don't know.
I love the way that you challenge people and you do it with respect, and it's genuine.
Yeah, like I want the best for this guy.
Yeah, which I think is fantastic. And also, you do this amazing thing. I call it amazing. It's a superpower talent nowadays in today's world. Like when someone challenges you, the first thing you do is respond openly to the possibility that they might be right and you might be wrong.
For sure.
You don't see people do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean...
That's incredible.
Well, here's the thing, too, is because if you challenge them about that, then you're also saying, prove it to me. Let me see the receipts on that. Because it's real, it's likely that I maybe am wrong. But let me tell you, if you take the stance of that's just the way it is, I'm not swayed. But also,
I think that curious openness you have is actually right. I think it's the only way we can grow as a person, because like we know all of our old ideas were bad.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point in my life, I do not believe the world's flat. But I'll say this: if someone's passionate and believes it, and they have an intelligent conversation, whatever, I said, let's talk about it, man. And I don't go into that trying to say I'm going to convince them and it's not. I go, this is their thing, not mine. And so, show me some science, show me some, whatever, and let me listen to you. And what's interesting is on something like that is you can find out a lot about that person that's outside of that subject. Why do they believe in this? And why do they? And in my opinion, on some of those subjects, they don't really believe that themselves. They just want to be part of something.
Yeah.
So now they're part of the flat earthers, and now it's us against them, and it's us against the world, and
there's a lot of that team joining happening.
It is, and so I go, yeah, it's all right. I mean, I'm okay to hear your thoughts or whatever, and the only thing that I won't do that with is a lot of social justice things. So I'm not giving a racist any time. I'm just not. I'm not going to give people who are probably just generally mean to other people because of social and social economical demographics.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give them my curiosity.
There's no reason to swim around in a pool of ignorance because you always run the risk of absorbing.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
like we all think that we could never adopt a bad idea. Yeah, we all could. It's dangerous to hang around.
It also brings out a pettiness in me I don't like.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's
very self-aware.
So all of a sudden, if somebody says it's a conversation where it's a social justice thing, and they're saying, well, they're all idiots. They spell it THERE. And I go, my inclination is to go, okay. If you're not smart enough to, that's the pettiness, and that doesn't
it's becoming like them, yeah.
Sure, but and so all of a sudden I go, this isn't helping anything. Me being petty about this isn't helping anything, or me trolling something on there. Yeah. And I go, all I've done is made the comment section wilder. I think giving people a chance to, and if someone's passionate about something, man, good for you. Even if it's something I don't understand, man. I mean, people that are passionate in life about things.
That's what I like. I like finding people that are wildly passionate about shit that makes no sense to me, and I'm like, I got to hear all of this.
Yep, I'm like all of it. I'm like, okay, so you quit your job to play Pokemon Go. So okay, how's that going for you? I mean, they're passionate about it. I go, dude, I'm going, I don't get this at all. But a passion invigorates me. So passion for anybody on something else that's in their life that they go, that's so, and like we talked about earlier, is on podcast or even on something where we're conversing with someone, when they get passionate, people do get louder. And they do, and all of a sudden they get more animated. They use their hands more, and I go, "Good for you, man." I mean,
just come alive.
Well, I don't want to be a person or even know people that have no passion for anything. I want them to have. I don't care if it's a sports team.
Yeah, and to be the person
music.
that dragged them down. Like, you don't want to be that.
No, man. If someone's trying to, tell me how rockabilly is the best music ever, and I'm like, dude, tell me, man. I want to hear it. I want to, but that just.
What is your favorite music?
Man, what's crazy is on the way over here, I was listening to a lady called Queen Omega. And it's kind of it's Jamaican, the kind of Rasta kind of music.
Oh, nice.
And there's a group of them called Young Lions, and none of them are young, but it's just such a good feel. And a lot of them are taking some well-known rap music beats, and they're coming over top with different lyrics. And so I've really been into that. But I listen to a lot of Latin music.
Yeah.
I love Latin music, especially
like classic type or like reggaeton, newer stuff.
I listen to some reggaeton, but more Vicente Fernandez, classic Mexican music.
Really?
And I mean, when you listen to Vicente Fernandez, and his son also sings, but when you listen to that and his power and the passion in his voice, and even what they call banda music, and banda music is more of the stuff from the countrysides and mariachi style, and it's
you
just
like that, huh?
Dude, it's just passionate. I mean, when you're listening to that, and all of a sudden the flipping trumpets come blasting in they come in like icicles breaking, and I go, man, what's not to like about that? And so
it's deep down inside, you're just a Mexican party.
Well, I absolutely,
I get it.
I love it.
I've been
man.
to Mexico and I've been over most Central America and some South America. I love all the Latin.
I do too.
Vibe,
I do too. And so I love Miami. I love San Diego.
Miami's very much Cuba.
Oh yeah, and San Diego. I mean, I just love. But there's a different feel of that I need more in my life, of living for the moment. And in a Hispanic or Latin culture, they definitely they have big giant parties they can't afford. They just do, man.
Yeah.
They just do, and
it's important.
They're super generous with and they're like, I'm paying for everything, man, and I got this new pair of boots, and they're awesome, and I go, man, how 600? You only make 200 a week, and I won't eat for 2 weeks, but look at these boots, and I go, I want to live like that a little bit more, where I'm living for the moment, and I'm going.
Man, they work hard too.
Oh,
every time I feel like I'm a really hard worker, I just go to Mexico.
Or
so Colombia. I just went to Colombia recently. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I saw that pictures. I've been to Honduras many times, in Guatemala. So I've been to Honduras lots of times, and that's a different feel. Yeah, it's similar, but it's a little bit different. But so I like that music. When I'm training and working out, I listen to hip hop, and so I listen to man, a lot of classic hip hop, but I listen to a lot of new stuff. Coast Contra. Coast Contra is new, and man, they are. It's great, and I listen to that.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, Coast Contra. It's just such a good feel. I'm not big on country. Just nothing against it. I don't need to have a discourse or anything about it. I'm just not that into it. I do like bluegrass a little bit, which is wildly different. And but I listen to a lot of music. But I think for me, it's I try to put it in an application of where I'm at in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like a theme song to your own movie, man.
Sure, that's a great way. That's a great way to.
That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. So when I walk in the woods, my soundtrack, I don't need it to be hip hop with a beat. I listen to something a little chill or something a little different. It makes me think or something. And if I'm training, working out, well, I sure don't want Kenny G. That's not doing it.
Oh,
for
the
me.
sax player.
Yeah. That's not doing it for me when I'm trying to train or whatever. And so, but I like a lot of new music, and I'm just but I like it for to fit the moment.
That's great. That's a great plan. So you have a lot of exploits in life too. You were talking about the orphanage you worked at.
Yeah, I mean,
in
this
India?
was in India. It was
When was that? Like a long time ago? Or
mid 2000s. So
Okay.
I don't know, 2005 or six or something like that. I mean, I've been in 24 countries and did a lot of
24.
yeah,
That's a lot.
been to a lot of did a lot of humanitarian projects. I mean, I've drilled water wells in Africa, in Guinea, West Africa,
Nice.
and raised money and bought a well drilling machine and shipped a well drilling machine that never did it before in my life.
Oh, wow,
and,
so you got all the way into that. You
I-
didn't just show up and help.
No,
Like-
we had there was a village in Guinea, West Africa, that we had some friends who were linguists and there, and they were working on that tribe had never had a written language ever in the history of the written. So we were working on that, and they had a clinic, and they said, hey. In conversation, man, the water is terrible here. The wells dry up, and there's no clean water. And so we started looking. A friend of mine started looking and trying to find somebody who could go do. So how can I hire somebody to go do a water project there? How can I hire Pure Water for the Nations or these places? So we started calling these organizations. They said we don't do any work in Guinea, and so it's we're like, dude, I think we could do this. I've never did it in our life, and end up doing some research and raising money and buying a well drilling machine, and found a shipping company that brought bauxite from Guinea to North Carolina, which is bauxite used as a raw material to make aluminum, and it went back empty. And we got a hold of the shipping company and let us talk. Anyway, we talked to the CEO of the whole humongous shipping company,
Whoa.
and he said, hey man, if you're helping my country out, I'll take it back to you I'll ship it for free. And so we went and drilled water wells and drilled 3 wells. The first, myself and 5 other guys, and paid for the trip ourselves and financed it. And then we went back and we gave them the equipment, and we taught them how to use it. Went back 6 months later and drilled a few more wells and saw how they were doing. And I mean, year to date, they've had numerous well they drill, and they keep drilling for other villages, and it's
That's great.
like a microeconomy. But I did, I've been to Kenya 5 or 6 times, and Honduras a bunch of times, but all these were these kind of humanitarian type trips. And then people started calling and saying, hey, I've got this project in Haiti. We're gonna do a sustainable farm in Haiti, and we need to build farm fence around it. And so went to Haiti a couple of times and built a mile worth of farm fence in the mountains. And
Before the earthquake or after?
after, it was right after the earthquake.
Okay,
and as a matter, what was weird is right after the earthquake, and while I was there was a big cholera outbreak, and a huge
What is it?
A cholera.
Oh, that sounds like an old disease.
It is an old disease, but it still happens.
I think I don't know much about it.
And cholera comes from poor hygiene and stuff. And it's because after the hurricane and the earthquakes, everybody was living in these little tent villages.
Yeah.
So there was no good sanitary things, and so there's a huge cholera outbreak there. But I remember I got robbed in Africa one time and took everything. But I remember people saying, I can't believe you go these places and how dangerous it is and dangerous. And I go, dude, I would rather die in Africa or Iceland or Guatemala doing something cool than choking on a chicken wing at B-dubs.
That's a good perspective.
I mean, people step.
You're gonna die, right?
Yeah, and people step off the curb on Main Street in downtown Greentown and get hit by a car. Or Kevin got his leg tore off by a shark in South Africa. I go, you talk about. So I think you have to. Once again, it's that living between two trapeze.
I'm with you, man. I have that adventure bug. I've had it my whole life, and I gave up trying to convince other people. I've had a few people I've recruited into the adventure bug lifestyle, but I love it. I still do stuff like that. I wish I had I was as good a philanthropist as you, but I'm usually just doing some kind of selfish adventure.
Yeah, but that's cool too. But let me tell you, whenever you create an adventure with a purpose, things change. So if you have an adventure with a purpose, and
I usually do, but it's not quite that.
Yeah, but I mean, because what happens is you're going to do something for someone else, and you come back so incredibly changed. for the adventure. And so your initial ideas, your initial thoughts, everything you do is sincere, that you're wanting to help somebody. And you come back and go, man, I learned so much, and I met such cool people, and I learned about myself, and
You found that really fulfilling.
yeah, it changes your worldview. And so people used to always tell me, you got to do stuff right here in your hometown. You ought to not be helping the people in Africa, or you ought to be helping the people in Guatemala.
People say that to you?
Oh, for sure, man.
These are people that are also living that? They're doing that? Or they're just judging you?
People, they're not doing nothing nowhere. They're not even, they're the ones that get mad at their neighbor for mowing 6 inches of their grass.
I don't listen to that noise.
So, but people would say that. And so, I mean, I don't try to get any kind of discourse, but I used to always say, yeah, I do a lot of stuff here. I do, I was on the drug court team for years, and I did addiction recovery stuff, and I did a senior citizens bike ride one time where we had 80 senior citizens using the new trail set. So I do a lot of stuff, have it around here. So I don't have to explain myself or give myself a pat on the back. And I have helped people here, but I'm going to tell you, most people that say that don't truly understand being without. And they go, you should help people right here. I go, man, I've been to some of the worst places. The worst places in Kokomo, we're kings somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are kings.
I knew that concept, but you really don't know that concept until you see it.
No,
I didn't. I'm a pretty smart guy. I think I understood that people live off $1 a day in Guatemala, or at least I did when I went there. But until I saw what that means, like for people, what that feels like for them.
But let me tell you also, even if you go somewhere and you go places in Germany or go places like Iceland, people are wealthy and they got good lives and all, but it changes your worldview still your worldview. You come back with a different worldview, and then you have to choose to do something with that. My worldview has changed. So do I choose to then take the positive part of that and make my life and others' lives more positive because of that? Or do I choose to take that and either extinguish it and go back to my maybe selfish or boring life?
Yeah.
Or you go, I just choose to do something with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think traveling is the absolute best education you can get for your perspective.
There was it's so different because
not traveling to different U.S. resorts in other countries.
Oh yeah,
actually getting into the culture.
I've been on a few cruise ships, and that's why I never want to get off the ship. I don't care to get off the ship in Mexico and Cozumel. That's not Mexico.
Oh,
dude,
right.
Dude, if you get off the ship and you're at Epcot Center, Mexico, and they say only shop at the stores that have the certain symbols, and it's
like, you go, don't go there. Noted.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just that you're not experiencing that. But I think for your worldview to change and for you to get an idea of let me tell you, if you travel and then you come back and it makes you a better person. It might make you more thankful because you do have plenty. It might make you give more grace to other cultures and other diversity.
Certainly.
It might make you come back and all of a sudden go, you know what? I need to be helping my neighbor out. My literal neighbor beside me has trouble mowing their grass, and you know what? I don't mind it. And so it does. It should change you. And let me tell you, people can think whatever they want about America, but there's a lot of great places around the world that go, dude, they're doing this right, and we're not doing this right. There's a lot of, and so you come back and you go, we got a little work to do here. That's called imperialism, where you think that your country or your culture is the center of the universe and everybody ought to conform to you, and you come back and go, actually not. There's some places that do things really well, and so we could work on a few things and we can make things
certainly. And why wouldn't you want new ideas? Like, there's so many cool new ideas out there, ideas that we couldn't have thought of because we don't speak that way and we don't live in those environments and we don't have those historic cultures. Like, those are awesome, unique things that we get the great opportunity to adopt because we were born as a melting pot.
Dustin, in Ethiopia, which is the birthplace of coffee, I think you're a coffee drinker.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. There's a little place called, I think it's called Cafe, I think is the name of it. And I was in Ethiopia a few years ago doing a project. I was doing a video project for an organization that helps women get out of the sex trade industry.
Oh,
and
nice.
so I did a video project and stuff for them for promotional. And but I would go to all these different homes, and these homes are very meager and very modest homes, and people might call them huts, or people might call them whatever. But everyone at home I went to, these people would come out and they do a coffee ceremony. And so most of them have coffee trees in their yard. I don't care how small their place was over there. They go out and they pick coffee beans off a tree. And as they're talking to you in their front room, and some of the floors are dirt or have straw on them, and they have, they're talking to you the whole time. And they have a little stove thing or whatever in the middle of their living room, and they put wood and coal in there, and as they're talking to you, they get a little pan out and they roast the coffee beans in front of you, and they hold the little pan up to you and let you smell it, and they kind of wave their hands in the air, and you get to smell that. And so as you're talking about life and things, and you're learning about their family and stuff, and then they take, as they're talking, they pour them in a little mortar and pestle thing, and they start grinding them up. And they're grinding these coffee beans, and then they pour them in a little pot, and then they put water in it. And as you're talking, this takes obviously a long time. You're there, and the coffee begins to brew. And then even in the most modern, modest places, they always have a little tray, and they have little cups and little saucers. And so we would pour it. We'd get just a dumb big mug somewhere and pour something in it. They got little cups and they got little saucers. And every one that I went to, when they pour the coffee into the cup, they pour it, and as you're watching them pour it, it goes clear to the top, and you're thinking, whoa, 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 and they always overflow it a tiny bit. It overflows a tiny bit on the saucer every single time, and I'm thinking, dude, they misjudge it every single time. And
you haven't got this down yet?
And this is in multiple places you go to.
Right.
And then when they serve it to you, you hold the little saucer, you drink it, and you keep talking more. Now, I asked somebody from Ethiopia who spoke English. I asked him about that. I said, dude, every time they pour it, he goes, they want you to have more than enough.
That's nice.
Dude, that's beautiful.
Served you a tray of abundance.
It's beautiful. In their life,
great.
all they could give you was that hospitality, and they wanted you to have more than enough. Dude, I mean, how beautiful is that? And it's gentle. It's not, they didn't slosh it on the ground.
Sure.
They just gently made it so it just overflowed. So you have.
That's so nice.
And so those are the things that when you come back, you go, how can I adopt that in my life? What do I do in my life that's maybe not coffee, but something else that I give someone more than enough?
That's a great one. That's a great lesson. And man, traveling is so full of those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And you don't have to do any wild traveling to get those kind of lessons.
No. But what it requires is getting off the porch.
Definitely.
So
that's the adventure.
You have to get off the porch, because when you go places, and even if I've been, the one time in Kenya, I lost they didn't have my luggage for 8 days. For 8 days, I didn't have any luggage. And
in Kenya,
and so all I had was my backpack, and my backpack I always just kept, an extra pair of underwear, an extra T-shirt, and an extra toothbrush.
Oh, thank goodness you did that.
But for 8 days, and what happened is people I didn't know were saying, gentlemen were saying, "Hey, let me give you a couple of shirts." These guys, the poorest of the poor, and they're giving me their shirts. And a guy said he brought me some pants, and man, the pants were about calf height, and like capris. And I said, dude, man, thank you. And I wore them for a couple of days. Yeah. And then after I finally got my luggage, came on next, and the day after that, I got robbed of everything, stole everything.
No.
But anyway, when I think about that, and I go through the whole series of that, I always think no great story ever starts with, "So I was there sitting in my chair."
Right.
There's no great stories in life.
So I was completely comfortable.
Yeah, I had my feet up and I had a glass of iced tea and I was sitting in my lazy boy.
I was so happy.
No great stories.
That's right.
They
That's
don't,
right.
man. They don't start with that. You're like going, okay, so right off the bat at the airport, I didn't have my ticket. I had to do this. And on the airplane, then this happened. And when I got there, and that's
so true. When you look back over your life, like, you realize that all of the times you were outside of your comfort zone in some way were the things you remember. They were like the most memorable, impactful, interesting things that ever happened to you. You genuinely, when you're the happiest too.
Dude,
if you think back to all the times, you were also always trying to accomplish comfortable.
Well, here's the thing too. I did stand-up comedy years ago.
Really?
At like Crackers Comedy Club.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally went up and did like 10 minutes, which is a ton.
That's a long time.
Oh, that's eternity. And I did stand-up comedy. And I didn't consider myself a comedian. I didn't want to do it forever. I just said, you know what? This is scary as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel so alive when I do this. That's what my thought was. I'm going to feel so alive. And I put together a little thing or whatever, and I did it. And it was terrifying. One of the most, I've jumped out of airplanes and I bungee jumped back when they used to let you really bungee jump, and I did all that stuff. Yeah. And let me tell you, stand-up comedy was as scary as anything. But here's the thing. When I got done, I was still alive. Whatever happened, if anybody thought I was funny or not funny or whatever, that feeling.
You were more alive.
Oh, dude, alive, man. I could have ran to Key West, Florida and back. I was energized.
I love that.
But was I funny? I don't care. I hoped I was, but it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to make a career out of it. And that's terrifying. And so I've done a lot of things in my life, and I got thinking the other day, I've kind of reinvented my life every 5 or 7 years, and totally reinvented my life. And not all have been for good. Not all. Some have left a kind of a trail of wreckage, and I freely admit that. Some of my reinvent myself was kind of got out of control a little bit and crashed a little bit. But let me tell you, I always limped back on the road and began to pick up speed again, and I learned some things, and I just did something different. And so many of the reinventions I'm very proud of. Some I'm not very proud of, but here I am.
Yeah. And that's the story for all humans. Everybody makes mistakes, and the harder you try, the more terrible mistakes you can make.
Oh, for sure.
And anybody that claims they've never made a mistake has never tried, or they're lying about it. Yeah, man, there's no way you could have done like most of the things you've done without getting really attracted to being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, because that's when I feel the most alive. And so trying to do things and saying, this is scary. Have you ever done skydiving?
I haven't.
So I did it, and I didn't want to do a tandem dive. I don't want to be hooked to nobody. Yeah. So if you don't want to do a tandem dive, you got to go for a little bit longer, like a 4-hour course before you do it. And they make you do a static line, a tether line. So when you jump out, there's nobody with you. You're by yourself, but this thing pulls out the wire. And when you get to a certain height, it's going to pull your chute for you. That way you don't freak out and forget to do it. Yeah. So I did that.
That'd be bad.
And but let me tell you, the moment as you're falling with no parachute, and you're just free falling, is glorious. It's just glorious. You're right in that moment. And then when the chute kicks and pops up and all, then it's safe. You feel very safe because all of a sudden I'm probably not going to die. I still could die, but I'm probably not going to die. And then as you're floating down, you see the world, and all you hear is the chute flapping, and you see things, and the wind's rushing. It's cool up there. And you don't feel that in the airplane.
Yeah, right.
You don't feel that.
I've never thought of that.
You do not feel that in the airplane. Well, I've flown. You've
Can't
flown.
stick your head out the window.
No. You can't roll the window down, and so you just don't feel that. I mean, I like motorcycles, and
Me too.
And I know they're dangerous, and I know all that stuff.
I forgot
and,
you ride.
Yeah, I've got a Ducati now.
Oh wow,
Man, I'm in love with it. I sold all the rest of them. I sold my Harley. I had a big Kawasaki, and I sold all the rest. I love this. It's a Ducati Multistrada.
I'll bet you love
but
it.
It's but even at that, there's a thing of feeling alive. And trust me, I don't want to. I totaled a Harley in 2014. Totaled one, so I know what it's like to crash and all. But I don't want to crash. I don't want to die. I don't have a death wish. I have a life wish. So it's just the opposite. I don't have a death wish. I have a life wish.
It does make you feel alive. Oh man.
Oh, for sure. For sure it does. And so, but there are things that you can do. I don't want people to get the wrong idea that the only thing that you have to do crazy, dangerous things, you can feel alive in so many different ways. You can do lots and lots of things that make you feel alive. And what it is, the challenge is to find those things that make you feel alive and do more of that.
Yeah. And I think you're right, because what's scary and uncomfortable isn't always just because it's dangerous.
No, and
it's you said it earlier. I think it's what makes you feel vulnerable.
Sure, there's and being vulnerable. I used to be so afraid of that. I was for a long time. My biggest fear was, what do people think about me? Sure. My biggest fear was, what do people think about? What are they saying? What are they talking about me? And then you know what happened? They did talk about me. And they did have their own opinions of me. And I did get ostracized in different circles. And I did, and my life did change. And you know what? It's hard and it hurt. But I'm still here. Now what?
Yeah.
Your life is filled with that now what moment. Mm-hmm. So if you think, oh my God, I hope I never lose my job. I can't lose my job. And you lose your job. Well, now what? Mm. If you think, oh man, whatever happens and I've overextended myself and they're going to repossess my car and I'm so scared of that. And they go, well, now what? If your relationship fails and you go, now what? Well, the now what's are what matter. I mean, sure, we want nobody to have to be in those situations, but the now what means, now what do I do? And that's what defines a person. The now what's the now
what
what's.
do you do about it?
Yeah. So all of a sudden you go, okay, and so I could cry and I could make I can complain everywhere I get, social media and every my life, and I could be victimized and blame everybody else, or I could hole up and let nobody see me and just go away. I could move away, or I go, yeah, my now what is go. Yeah. I think about that. One of my favorite movie scenes was from 8 Mile.
I remember it, yeah.
Eminem said, you know what? I do live in a trailer park. My mom is a meth addict. I am poor. I am this. I am this. And then what happened?
What?
The other guy couldn't say nothing about him.
Yeah. Right.
He Eminem'd him.
Took the power away from him.
He did. And so he was vulnerable. He said, yeah, you're right. I do live in a trailer park. I am this. I am this. I am this.
That's an accurate statement, sir.
It is. Yeah. And so in life, when you get to where you 8 Mile yourself and go, yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
You don't have to give details. You don't have to but you can say that did happen. I did have this. This did happen in my life. I have a failed business. I have this, or this didn't work out, or even
that also shows me that you've learned from it.
Well, there's people that have health issues that won't even be honest about that with themselves, and I go, yeah, I am going through this, or I am, but the now what is, so the now what is, what are you going to do about it? I mean, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go through something. Everybody's gone through stuff in their life, but it's the ones who go, yeah, that sucked, but now what?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and feeling like a victim is not ever going to help anybody. I worry about people when I see them feeling like a victim.
I do too, because I've found myself getting into that. that mode because it's a natural defensive thing that we go, if I can blame somebody else, if I can pin it on somebody else, it takes that off of me. And so I'm less responsible. But what happens is when you do that, you begin to believe that.
Yeah, it just helps your ego.
Well, and if you...
It doesn't really help you, right?
Nope, because what happens is then you don't fix that thing.
Yeah, that's why I worry about people like
that. Yeah, you don't, I mean, I don't know if it ever happened to you or not, but I've had people tell me, oh, so-and-so's a narcissist. And I'm thinking, dude, that's what you are, and
some projecting going on here.
For sure. And so I always think about myself, and I try to be very honest and very real. And I now I'm at a place in my life to where I go, this is who I am, and it's not. I'm not done yet. I'm not completely done yet. I'm a work in progress. I'll be 59 next month, and I'm a work in progress. And maybe I'll grow some hair. Maybe I'll shave my beard. Maybe I'll learn to play guitar. Maybe maybe I'll
screw up again.
Yeah, there's probably there's if you want to go on FanDuel and bet what's the line on Kevin screwing up again, I would you can because I'm probably going to, and it's likely.
It's so silly because we all do it, and the people willing to take risks are the ones that have the most screw ups. They're also the most interesting people.
Oh, but once again, I would love it. I love someone's testimony of their life, that their life has just been wonderful and they've worked hard and all. And I go, that's rare. It's rare. And what's more, that's not as inspirational. What's inspirational? The stories that are inspirational are people that screwed up and failed.
The comeback story, the hero.
Oh man,
every hero story starts with a hero, his hamartia, ruining something for himself with his own.
For sure.
Yeah, his superpower is also his super enemy. So
we don't give a mediocre player of the year award. We give a comeback player of the year award.
Right. Yeah, it's a great story. It's a human story, and the reason every human really likes that story is because we all are hoping we can make a comeback because we're all screwing up.
It's relatable.
Every person is screwing up.
It's relatable. It is true. It is relatable. But in business and in entrepreneurship, which that doesn't interest me too much, but I do know that most of the best stories were you guys failed and failed and failed, and then all of a sudden something hit and something took. But nobody self-made wealth. No self-made wealth came without risk.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah, even old wealth, you only kept it because of risk. Yeah, risk is everything.
Yeah, and so because in this point in my life, I want to have enough money, but I'm not that interested in wealth at this point. But I think about that is the risk factor. So if that's your thing, that's cool. I'm not against that. Dude, go for it. But it's for me the risk in relationship. There's a risk. Mm-hmm. Listen, asking a girl to the prom when you're a kid and you're nervous and you get your guts up and you go and you ask some girl if she'll go to the prom, and there's a good chance that she's going to say no. There's a good chance that she's not going to say no. She's going to tell her friends, and they're all going to laugh and say, "I can't believe Dustin asked me to the prom." And then the whole school's going to know, God, you believe Dustin asked the cheerleader to the prom?
What an idiot!
But what an idiot!
Yeah.
But you know what? What if she says yes and Dustin goes to the prom with the cheerleader?
Yeah,
dude, that's that risk. And say when it happens, you're like, oh man, and it's just people. I think people think failure. They view failure more as a personal affront, or because let me tell you this. One thing. People need to, there has to be a way to project people that because you failed doesn't mean you are a failure.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that I've never seen one example of someone failing before. Yeah. I've only, in the long term of things. Yeah. Short-term failures, sure. But long-term, if you look into anything, the only people that have ever really just failed, they quit at some point.
But let me tell you about that too. Here's a thought. this whole idea of never quit, never surrender, it's crazy. There's times you should quit.
Sure.
There's times in life on different things you should quit, but we got it drilled into us: never fail, never quit, never, And I go, no, actually, I don't know if I don't gamble, but I know
That's a great time to quit.
but for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen, if dealer turns over a face card and you're holding a 16, unless it's 2 8s and you're playing blackjack, best, you know what? You get out, because and so there's things in life and there's things in our personal lives that it's okay. If this is
Accept on yourself.
yeah, I don't think you should quit on yourself,
Yeah.
but I think there are things that you can just say, you know what, this wasn't for me, and it's okay, and I wish it was, or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's just okay. But that's all. That's not knowing
Just
yourself.
take responsibility for it. Like, I'm deciding to quit.
Oh yeah,
And that's what I'm doing.
yeah.
Own it.
Listen, if you own a business and it's not doing well, and you're pumping more money, and you go, you know what, actually. It's time to get out. It's time to, this was a great idea, but it wasn't the great location or the great time or whatever. And so it's okay. But it's, once again, you have to just take your situation and go, what am I capable of? I started riding a road bike recently, and never have been too much into cardio stuff. And so I go to the gym in the morning and train, and I'm riding a road bike in the evening.
Bicycle.
Yeah.
And pedal bike.
And pedal bike. And so I go, I'm only going to go 5 miles out, because then I got to turn around and ride 5 miles back. That's 10 miles. And so then I can, in my mind, go, you know what, that's pretty good. I just started this a couple weeks ago, and 10 miles is pretty good, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I force myself to go 6, now I got to go 6 back.
Paint yourself to a corner.
So now I got to go 6. So now I got 12 miles, and so I know when to push myself, and I know when to, and I want to do the hard things. So I don't want to be a quitter. I don't quit everything, but I want to do hard things. But I also know this hard thing shouldn't break me. And if something's going to break you,
that's a great point.
yeah, if it's going to break you, it's okay to quit on. If this is going to break you emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, it's okay to quit on.
That's a great point you're making, that I believe that we don't talk enough about and focus on strength enough anymore. Not just strength of body, but strength of mind and strength of character.
Oh, for sure.
And I think a lot of people nowadays confuse strength with power.
Yeah.
Strength has nothing to do with having the ability to impose. It's about the ability to withstand.
There are people who are powerful who aren't strong.
Yeah, and again, that's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
That's because if you work on your strength of character, and also you're aware of what it is, now you know what you can do without breaking.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you should run your line. Like, okay, this is what I can handle. And if I want to handle more, I need to figure out how to become stronger.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that much anymore. We talk about a lot of passivity and sensitivity, and I think that might be a little bit of a mistake, and here's why I think it's a mistake. I don't think it's a mistake to be compassionate. I think it's a mistake to think like that is in competition to strength. Because in my opinion, strength of character is what's required to be compassionate, to be empathetic, to help someone, to be able to be vulnerable enough to do all of the amazing things that we all agree we should do. I think they all require strength at their base core.
They do, and part of that, which you say strength of character, but part of that is it's very difficult to be genuine in all those things unless you have the strength to look at yourself in the mirror. And so there are people who are generous on the outside, empathetic on the outside, and they are. But can they look at themselves in the mirror and go, "That is who I am"? Because when you get vulnerable and you start really being introspective on who you are and who you are and what your weaknesses are
and
what
honest.
your strengths are, and being honest, then all of a sudden those other things become they become easier, because it's easier to be compassionate. It is if you have suffered trauma or loss and you're real about it.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're like, man, because the difference between sympathy and empathy I mean, sympathy is, I never, I've never had that happen. I've never had a child die before, but I feel for you.
Yeah.
Empathy is, I have been there. And empathy is, I'm feeling your pain in my gut. And it's different. And sympathy isn't bad. It's because it just says I haven't experienced that. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. That's what that is.
I feel sorry for you.
And it is, and it's true, and it's good feeling.
But it's kind of kind of a pity.
Yeah, but I think that strength, and they say
it takes strength to even look. To be empathetic definitely takes strength, because it's always a choice. You don't have to feel someone else's pain. No, it's hard enough to feel your own. Well, so if you're going to feel someone else's too, you got to be pretty strong.
Yeah, and you have to. The other thing is to be truly empathetic. Truly empathetic. You have to be willing to take action. Because if you drive down the road every day and see someone struggling every day, and they're going through a trash can, and they're always going through trash can trying to find food out there or whatever, and, oh man, I just hate that for their life, whatever, but I'm going to keep going. You get to be truly empathetic. There has to be some action. So the action would be what you stop and say, hey man, what's your story? What's going on? And they tell you, and you go, you're a carpenter? Yeah, I used to be. Actually, I know a guy, and I don't know, or I need some work done at my house, or something, or is there any tools you don't have that would help you get back on your feet? Because to be truly empathetic, to feel their pain, you have to be willing to put some action behind it. And that doesn't mean that you have to change their life. You have to be willing to engage a little bit.
I agree. That's a good idea.
It's hard.
It is difficult, and it's not a convention either in our culture.
No,
it's not normal, and it does exist in other cultures, which is really interesting.
You know what's crazy is when Kokomo Scanner first came out on social media, I was on Twitter.
Oh, the Facebook group?
Yeah, it was a Twitter at the time, a Twitter group.
Just so people that might listen to this know what we're talking about.
Listen, Facebook group, and it's the local. It's people who are civilians who listen to the scanner and report to all of us common folks that don't have a scanner what's going on. Right. And I don't. And at the time, I used to follow. I think it's one of the biggest Facebook followers in Howard County. I think they've got 80,000 followers or something.
They have
crazy.
More followers than people that live there.
Oh, I'm yeah, it's crazy. And but one time, I was an early adopter of Twitter, and one time on Twitter they put. They put something on there that someone reported this, and they called it into the scanner that there's a man walking down or laying down on the sidewalk beside Washington and Markland, and he's laying there and he's kind of kicking around, and he's kind of and whatever's happening, and somebody called that into the police, who then put it on scanner, and then somebody went by and took a picture and put that picture up. And I'm thinking, damn, somebody stop. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we? So
they did all of that, but nobody checked
stopped.
On the person.
No one's. So people reported it. The scanner put it up, and then somebody was taking pictures of it, and nobody stopped to see if he's okay. And I thought that's because, once again, without that empathy, without willing to do action, that doesn't mean you got to do a first responder. You say, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm scared. You go, you roll the window down and say, dude, are you okay? I mean, can I? But nobody did. So
why? Why do you think? You think they were too afraid?
No, I think they don't really care. They care more about the news than the person. So it's
that's a bad vibration.
Well, okay.
That's very dark.
It
might be true.
There used to be. I don't know if it's still there. I get totally away from all of this stuff. There used to be a Facebook group or a whatever, and it was something called People of Walmart or something like that. And people would go around and take pictures.
I was actually on that.
I hope you had crazy slippers on and wearing a thong, and you had a bull moose hat on when you did it.
I was screwing around in Walmart once. I put on a bunch of silly shit that was in the women's section. My wife and her friends were in there. Like, I don't know, some rain boots that were polka dot and some crazy hat and something else. I was just messing around because I was bored. I don't like shopping at all. Somebody snapped a picture and ended up on that site group thing, and somebody brought it to me like a week later, and they were like, "Look at this! There's like 50,000 people that like." I was like,
But-
"Wait a minute." I felt like they should ask my permission.
What's crazy is most of the time they're doing that so the rest of the world can laugh at them.
Yeah,
So they're doing so listen,
Yeah.
an elderly gentleman's bending over trying to get a box of Cheerios and his butt cracks hanging out, and somebody's got to snap a picture, and then it's going to be a meme, and there's whole cultures of that.
yeah. Well, no, I guess maybe if I was a sensitive person, that could have been hurtful. Maybe like, do you think people? Like they are getting laughed at. I don't
for
mind.
sure.
I don't mind getting laughed at, but that might really hurt some people.
Absolutely. And once again, when it became popular, and I never liked it, but I remember looking at things, and I thought that person's clearly mentally ill. I mean, there's stuff you see in there that's just beyond bizarro, and you go, yeah, no one cares about that. They want to take a picture and laugh at it or something else. And so the idea of
Human cruelty.
it's
You think it's cruelty? Do you think people are being cruel, or are they just sort of desensitized? Like they don't stop to think, hey, this is a real person. Because if they did, they might be at least sympathetic.
well.
But for the record, I have a tendency to really believe in people.
Oh, I did too. I mean,
I never believed.
my first response is to believe in somebody. But let me tell you, there are so many people justify their own lives by thinking how pathetic others are.
Sure, I can see that's an ego mechanism.
Yeah, so they're like going, you know what? I may have a pretty jacked up life, but look at that guy in Walmart. And so ha ha ha, and then we divert the attention, and so all of a sudden we're all laughing at him. We're not laughing at me.
That's so unhealthy, though.
Well, here's the other thing. I've traveled around the world, and I love taking pictures of people. And I will always tell anybody this: if you're going to travel anywhere, if you're take a picture of anybody that's local, always take a photo that gives them all the dignity. All the dignity.
That's great.
Because here's what happens. If someone goes to Guatemala or someone goes to Haiti or someone goes to India, you know what they want to take pictures of? Somebody that lives in squalor. They want to take a picture of the whole household that has trash and clothes and squalor, and they want to take a picture and go, oh my God, I feel so sorry. These people live in such poverty.
Oh yeah, that's sympathetic narcissism or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but people do that. So if you go to Mexico, they go, oh man, they said, look how these people live. And so here's what I do.
Compassionate narcissism.
I intentionally, when I do, I use a 50 millimeter lens on my camera. I have to get within 6 feet of you. And I have to just get your face. And I always ask permission, and I always talk to them. And I have some wonderful pictures, wonderful street photography photos of people, because I'm not showing their condition or their life or their house or whatever. I'm saying I'm going to give that person dignity. And if we did that in normal life, we wouldn't take pictures of shit at Walmart. We wouldn't take pictures of guys tweaking over here on Washington Street. We wouldn't. Yeah. We would try to give them dignity. Because let me tell you this. Every house I've ever lived in has had some part around the yard or behind the shed that the weeds was growed up in, and there was unfinished projects, and it was
dirty closet.
Dirty closet.
Yeah.
So everybody's got a junk drawer, whether it be now. If someone from Dubai came to Kokomo and took a picture of Dustin's house and said, God, can you believe someone lives like that?
Yeah.
Because in their world,
sure,
this is squalor.
By comparison, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we would be sick about that if someone was showing all their friends and go, oh, look, behind his garage, there's weeds are high, and he's got 2 bicycles back there. And so I always go, I don't want anybody posting pictures of my messiness in my life.
Yeah. I like your argument because it's one that compels people to be empathetic, to think about what if it happens to you, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's a great way. There's another way, too, I think that's important to think about it, is that it's not that you can live life without any effect on yourself. Like, I think Jesus is one of the most popular people around here to say this in some way, but like what you do to other people, you're doing to yourself.
Oh, for sure.
So it's really a bad strategy to be a shithead to people
it-
because really you're hurting yourself. Like if your life's going miserable and your way of coping with it is to make fun of other people, it's like, man, now you're hurting yourself more.
Do you know any great inspirational people that you are motivated by that make fun of other people and do that stuff?
I don't.
I don't either.
No.
There's nobody that I go, you know what, I want to be just like them. And I go, God, they're miserable, man. I go, that person must have a miserable life that they're, but once again, it's the quote goes, there's some people that justify their own sins by thanking God they're not as bad as their neighbors.
Right. Yeah, but when I'm talking about this stuff with people, like I know that the wisdom I'm using is correct, but I always worry that I'm sort of judging people for performing poorly when I have to remember, like, I remember what it's like to have bad times and like have a hard time emotionally or whatever psychologically. And then you do these behaviors. Like the last thing you can do is like better. It's, you know what I mean? It's the hardest to do good when you're suffering the most.
Oh, sure it is. And that's why it's okay for people to just heal and just be. So because we everybody talks about this mentality, I got to rise and grind and it's Shark Week and a Monday morning I got to be that and I got to kill the world. I go, no, you don't. No, you don't have to. Because sometimes in life, life's just been hard. And you're beat up and you're tired. And sometimes in life, you can't step forward and you have to just maybe lean forward. So you're like going, I'm just beat up. I'm wore out. And so there's times in life I just go, if I lean forward a little bit, I'm making a little progress, but I don't have the energy. And that's true in life with people that even in this idea of empathy and everything, there's times when you go, you know what? I just need to be for a minute. I just need to exhale and breathe and heal up and do
it for other people. Help other people lean forward a little bit, which is what you're so good at.
Well, thanks, but part of that is giving them the space and the opportunity and giving them the green light. Giving them the green light to just be. It's okay. It's okay, Dustin. I mean, you had a hard time in your life, and you don't gotta rise and grind. Just right now. I'm just glad you're here, and I'm thankful for where you're at right now. And I hope that's not where you end up being because I really believe in you. But right now, it's okay. Just heal up. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to be anything extra. Just right now, it's okay. Just breathe, exhale a little bit, and then when you're ready to take a step forward, if you need me, call me. But if not, I'll be keeping an eye on you.
Yeah, and you think there's probably a lot of patience involved with that too.
Well, there's you got to be patient with people, but you also you can't control that. So people want to control that, and so you have to say, this is my friend Dustin, and he's done a tough time in his life, and so he's going to kind of have to sort this out himself. And so I'm going to, I'm not going to be able to grab his hand and pull him forward. But if he needs me to be a cheerleader, or he needs me to maybe push him a little bit from behind, I'll do that. But it's because you can't control that, and a lot of people don't like that they can't control that in other people, and so they just don't do it at all.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough to help people when they're having a tough time because that's when they're also like the most irritable and they don't want to believe.
Well, you also listen.
They need help.
In my very worst times, if you didn't call me, I was glad, and if you didn't call me, I was mad.
Yeah, that's a great example of what it feels like.
It is because I'm like, the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I can't talk to anybody. I can't talk to Dustin. I'm just, and then, but if no one does call, you go, what the hell, man? Dustin isn't, no one's checking on me. So you're in a weird spot. It's a no-win spot. Yeah. But
that's when you need somebody the most.
It is. And
when you're the hardest to be around.
When the worst rumors and things went around about me, someone called me and said, "Hey, here's what I heard." going to ask you a few questions about it, but I heard this, and I just kind of want to know, and I still believe in you. And dude, that bluntness was the best phone call I got.
That's great.
Because this person said, I heard it and I'm not going to believe anything. I'm not going to, but I don't want to hide. I don't want to act like I didn't hear this or whatever. Because then when I see you, if I heard this and I see you, how do I act? And someone just called me and just asked me straight up. And
what an intelligent person.
And let me tell you what happened. It was a few years ago. And then recently he had a very public thing, something come up.
Yeah.
That was, and it was something that was tough for his family, for him, and for the whole community. And I called him. And I said, I saw this in the paper, but I wanted to call you. I wanted you to hear my voice. And said, man, you're still my dude. I believe in you. And if you need me, here I am. But I said, I remember that's what you did for me. Let me tell you, that's a hard phone call to make because you're like going, it's going to be hard. This dude, I don't know, you want to talk about it or whatever.
Yeah, it takes strength.
And it does. And it takes strength to make the call and to receive the call.
Sure.
But
making the call is harder than receiving it.
But I'm going to tell you, people that
it happens to everybody. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. Some people worse than others, but for sure, there's no reason we all shouldn't be more supportive of each other's mistakes. And
here's the thing. I don't need to know your business. I don't need Kokomo Scanner. I don't need to know your business. And
I don't listen to any.
I don't. You know the people that
go to my own detriment, because people a lot of stuff people talk about socially are relevant things, and I don't know what they're talking about.
Can you?
I don't want to hear any of that.
This is. I don't know what kind of demographics you got, but this will probably piss off some people. But can you imagine a life where every morning when you barely open your eyes, you look at busted.com?
I don't even know what that is.
That's where all the mugshots are from the previous arrest from the previous night.
Oh, I'll bet that makes people feel real good about themselves.
There's a ton of people, Dustin, that every day, part of their morning routine, along with coffee and along with everything else, is looking at the arrest records and looking at busted.com.
For entertainment or to make sure that somebody they know doesn't need bailed out?
That's what they say.
That's
what
they say. Narcissistic excuse.
But what they're doing is they're taking screenshots and sending it to people and laughing. Oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
This person got arrested. And I knew this person was probably doing this. But there's people that's their life. And they start their day off like that.
I don't want to make fun of them, though, because to start with, I forgive them. And secondly, I really hope better for them. Because the person they're really hurting is not the person they're making fun of.
No, and I'm not. So I'm just going. All I'm saying is I can't imagine that starting my life out
I would kick my own ass.
By worrying about what somebody else did. Now, if someone takes me and goes, hey, so and so got busted the other day for this, whatever, I might text that person and go, are you all right?
Well, sure. Negativity is like a drug. It is so attractive. I mean, I try my hardest to be strong, and I'm probably, compared to most people I meet, I feel like I'm very good at not being attracted to negativity. But with that said, that's only because I know I'm honest with myself, and I know how attractive it is to me. Everybody would like to gossip. It just triggers something deep inside of you. It's
it is.
You have to fight that.
Yeah, you have to. So my philosophy is I stay in my lane unless I got to come in your lane to help you.
That's a good. And when you cross the line to go into that lane,
for sure.
you're going to be tempted now.
Yeah, because if you're going to Rubberneck. So if you're going down the road and there's a fire or a police car or whatever, if you're slowing down so you can look to see what's going on, or are you slowing down, or are you going, man, that
you better
guy's
be ready
got
to get
family.
out and help.
Yeah, or to say, I'm just sick about this, even if but I don't know, man. Because I'm at the point now where I want everyone to win. Somebody will say, hey, can you believe Dustin bought a brand new car and my God, he works here and she works here, and how do they afford that? And I go, they got a new car? Awesome. That's a great car, man. I said, good for them.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's not my business. I don't make the payments on it. But I want good. If you're winning, good for me. If you're winning, it doesn't affect me at all. But there's some people that because let me tell you.
It's not good for them.
Well, they think information is power.
Well,
That's why scanners
it
popular. That's
is.
why bust.com, because they think if I can break this story to my friend group, I can break the story that this happened. I have information. Somebody said, "Hey, did you hear somebody got, I saw a police car down at the Dollar General." Oh, well, I'll tell you who it was. It was this guy and this way. That
Yeah.
becomes power for them.
Yeah.
And so that's why they like to know that stuff.
That's true. I feel like information, well, let's say it like this. If information is power, then the truth is an atom bomb.
Oh,
So stick to that power.
yeah.
And I tell you what, your feelings and your uninformed opinions and judgments upon people is not the truth. Like, and I tell it to myself all the time, like, I think this. And I'm like, wait, why do I think that? I'm like, I know that's uninformed. I don't know what the story is.
Yeah. I'm no detective. I'm not going to try to take these clues and then put it together, because what happens
Plus,
is
it happens to each of us. Once it happens to a person, I feel like it helps with their empathy. Like it's, for various reasons. I was actually being canceled before cancel culture started. Like it's been a regular thing in my life, just the various reasons. I've all kinds of shit that's been said about me, and I developed my own way of dealing with it, because a lot of people, I also had a lot of followers. So a lot of people would come to me and say, hey, people are saying this about you. I'm like, man, why? Their stories of me, of my mistakes, are always so much more interesting than what really happened. Like,
oh yeah.
So I used to just tell people, like, man, go back and tell them that I wish that I was half as interesting as they make me out to
be. Oh yeah. I've heard all this stuff about me, and I go, God, I was killing it, wasn't I?
Yeah,
I said, man, I was killing life.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I really don't care what anybody thinks about me.
It's that's a process, and because it's hard, because
I prefer them to think well of me.
Yeah, I do too. But that's honesty, because I do too, and I can say I don't care. But I will say this: I have people in my life that their value holds different weight with me.
Yeah.
There are some people that I go, I don't want to disappoint this person. I really value this person, and there's other people I go, you know what? This person said that? They can say whatever they want, man. I mean,
that's true.
Because this person, this demographic means so very little to the positivity in my life. And other people I go, I don't,
It's true. How much do you trust this person that's saying it? That helps. You decide how much you should feel it. The other way I look at things, if you're interested, is the Stoic method, which is old, but I find it extremely useful in this case, is that about you always know, for one thing, you can't control other people's opinion of you. So you can't control your reputation. It's not in your control.
Correct.
It's in your influence, but not in your control. And also, you are the only one that actually knows for sure what the truth is. Mm-hmm. So if someone else is saying something about you that you know for sure isn't true, the only thing to think is that they're mistaken.
Mm-hmm. That's a good, yeah.
And you should feel like sympathetic towards them, because they believe something that isn't true, and that's bad for them. But it shouldn't hurt you at all.
Yeah, it's hard, because we are, and in this, it's worse nowadays in the click culture, because now we're also the dopamine from likes and clicks and hearts and all that stuff is
the social acceptance.
So that's even harder now than ever.
That's deeply biological,
and it sure it is. And so if you're already suffering for that, and then all of a sudden you're caught up in that, because and so it's just hard. But what I think is how can I be self-aware of when I'm doing certain things or saying or exhibiting certain behavior, and I go then enough to go, you know what, that's petty, or that's wrong thinking, or that's gossip, or that's this, and go, I just want to put the brakes on that and go, really, where am I at right now? How can I be? Because how can I be the best Kevin there is? And to be the best Kevin, talking or about somebody else does not make me the best Kevin, for sure.
That's true.
It doesn't. And so I'm the best for others when I'm the best for myself.
That's exactly right. That's great wisdom. Yeah, man. I don't know what else you could possibly say other than that. Um, I would say I have a question for you.
Yep.
If I don't know if this would be a good thing or a bad thing, but let's say this thing went viral and like tons of people listened to it. What would you want to have a chance to say to them if you had that chance? Like, what message would you give people? And how old are you now?
I'll be 59 next month.
59, traveled all over the world, done all kinds of adventures, met all kinds of people. You've learned all kinds of amazing skills of listening and forgiveness and learning and all kinds of stuff. I can't even have time to go over all of it. What if you had to pick one thing to tell people? What do you think you would tell them?
Know the difference between a groove and a rut.
You gotta expand on that.
A groove, if you get in a groove where it just, you automatically kind of slide into it, and a groove is where things are going good and things are going well and you're on the right path and your things are happening and you're traveling in the right direction. But a rut can look very much the same, but the rut means that you just fallen into that. You haven't changed. You're just constantly, you're in this, and it becomes comfortable and it becomes too easy. And a rut's nothing but a grave with the ends kicked out.
Nice.
So when you're so what happens is
it's a great distinction.
When you get into a groove where all of a sudden, my mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, everything's going well, and I feel like it's all just in this groove. And so you kind of keep working with it. But what happens is real easily you can stay in that same spot because it's so easy and so comfortable. And so I think for your life to keep growing and keep moving forward, you've got to stay in that groove, but not in a rut. The rut is where it just automatically happens. You put it in autopilot. And then what happens is you wake up and it's 1 week and then 6 months and then 10 years and then a lifetime. And you realize this is a rut. I've not tried anything new. I've not got out of this. This certain path that I'm in. And you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to be different. You're allowed to reinvent yourself. And who you are 20 years ago or 10 years ago or even a month ago is not who you have to be tomorrow. And so, man, know the difference between a groove and a rut, and get in a groove, and groove's good, and keep progressing forward. But when you start feeling like the only thing that changes is the calendar, man, that's a
rut.
It's a rut. It's death on two legs.
Wow, yeah, that's great, dude. I've never heard anything like that way of putting it. That's so good. I think we should probably end on that. That's everything you need.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming to talk to me, man.
This is awesome. I enjoy talking to you.
I knew I was going to be able to get some incredible wisdom out of you. I appreciate the hell out of it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and what I like about this experience is this feels like a talk between friends with headphones on.
It is, yeah. That's good. That's what I was shooting for.
Yep.
That's excellent. All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.